Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Thursday, April 23rd, 2026 open session for the Board of Carroll County Commissioners. As we always do, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hope everybody is doing very well today. We have quite an awesome audience with us today, so we're going to move through the first segment of our agenda as rapidly as possible. Commissioner Krebs, you are up first today.
Good morning. We start our meetings off with talking about things that happened during the week that we want to share with each other and with the public, so I have a couple I want to share with you guys today. So the first one, and we'll have a little video here in a second, but I was at opening day last week for Sykesville Baseball. And I did not realize at the time, but there was a longtime resident of Fairhaven, which is a continuous care retirement community for people that are older, and they live there. But there's a resident that's been there. His name is Alan Borgman, and he's 85 years old. And he kicked off his 20th season, and you're going to see a little video, as a youth baseball umpire on opening day for Little League. And he's been umpiring for 20 years. He's 85 years old. And he also sang the Star Spangled Banner after the Pledge of Allegiance. It was really cool. He stood behind the plate, and he coaches and teaches kids how to be umpires as he goes every weekend and has been doing it for many years. So I wanted to show you this little video to show you how important people's service can be and their mentorship to our youth. If you watch the screen, it should come up. Sound. We have a picture but no sound. You can read it. All the others in school, you should be able to read that.
The audio is not coming through the system.
That's okay. All right, you can read it. 85-year-old umpire celebrates 20th season. There he is after he sang the Star Spangled Banner. And it's right adjacent to, these fields are loaned to us or rented to us from Fairhaven, which, thank goodness, we have those. There he is, Mr. Brugman. There he is. That's it. So just want to show you how valuable people's time is with our youth, and what an inspirational, what an inspiration this gentleman is. And I thank him, and the parents and kids down there just love him, Mr. Allen. Next, we also had an Eagle Scout project. This is just a picture of it. Eagles are Boy Scouts that have to do a certain service project before they get the highest honor of being an Eagle. And this young man's Eagle Scout project was how to properly dispose of a battered or faded or torn U.S. flag. You're not supposed to throw flags away. You're supposed to respect the flag. And you scan on this QR code, it tells you how you take care of your flag and what do you do when it's old. Instead of throwing it in the trash, there's supposed to be a way to dispose of it. So he put together a flag retirement box. It's sitting in the town of Sykesville, right by their, where is that? The townhouse. And there's an actual box that he made that you can put them in, and then every so often the different Boy Scout troops actually have a ceremony to retire all of the flags, and they burn them. They burn them respectfully, so that they're not just thrown in the trash. So if you are interested in that, it shows you even how to care for the flag and how it's supposed to be flown. The American flag always flies above then the state flag and then the Carroll County flag. There's a certain order of how you're supposed to display and take care of your flag. You're never supposed to let it drag on the ground. That's why you hold it up. And when people march in with flags, you're supposed to have the flag, the American flag, the highest, and then the Maryland flag underneath, and then the Carroll County flag. So it's your flag protocol. So his project was about how to properly dispose of these flags. And Ben Schrack was from troop number 719, and he built and installed this box for the retirement of these flags. So you can deposit your flags here, and the Scouts will ensure that they will be ceremonially retired. And it was a really innovative idea. So keep that in mind. Thank you, Vanna. And we're going to put this up somewhere that people can see it, and hopefully down maybe the Sykesville Fire Department so people can see it and know that that exists. The last thing we did the other day, the Sykesville South Carroll Rotary Club celebrated 85 years of service above self. And I bring that up because we have so many volunteer organizations in Carroll County, and they do a lot. I do notice that members are getting older, and they're not being replaced necessarily by youth, but you get so much out of the service that we do. And there's so much that gets done for our county because of these organizations all over the county. So we were there celebrating their anniversary. So pictured here was receiving our Board of Commissioners citation on behalf of all of us. We had President Charles Reese and upcoming District Governor Dawn Whitfield. And the Rotary is known for their four-way test of the things that we say or the things that we do. And their mission at Rotary is to provide service to others, promote integrity, and advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through fellowship of business, professional, and community leaders. And they do so many projects and have done stuff all over. I couldn't even begin to name it. But the Sykesville South Carroll Rotary, interesting fact, was sponsored by the Westminster Rotary and was chartered in 1941. So it started with Westminster Rotary first. And they have a test. It's called the Rotary Four-Way Test. The four-way test of the things we say, think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? And that is their four-way test for the Rotary. So that's all I got for today. Thank you.
Very much, Commissioner. Yep. Commissioner Gordon, anything?
I'm going to forgo my comments this morning. I know we've got a lot of young people in here, so I'm going to keep it moving along.
Commissioner Kyler?
Okay, yeah, I got a few. Last Friday was, two of my grandkids are in Denver, 2 are in Durham, and 2 are here. The oldest 2 are here. And last Friday was Grayling Grandparents' Day. Oh, this is why I don't bring kids to work. That's my 6 grandchildren. They were here a while back, came to the meeting, and when I went into my office, they had taken it over and tried to straighten me out. So I don't let them in the building anymore, but I'm sure all you guys behave fine. And then 2 things related to them. Grayling Grandparents' Day was in Denver Friday, and Rhonda went out and was with them. And then the Reed is on the left, Kyler is in the back, and this is pretty somber. Kyler's now a freshman in high school. Reed's in middle school. Their 15-year-old friend, Jack Francis O'Shea, was riding his e-bike at 9 o'clock about a week ago, was hit and died at the scene. And they're very close friends. And if you know anything about Durham, North Carolina, Coach K, they go to their school through 8th grade's named after Coach K's mother, the ex-coach of Duke basketball. His grandson was the one that hit Jack on the bike and is now charged with driving while intoxicated and probably manslaughter. It's just such a shame, and the lesson for us and you guys, we have free will. Good Lord gave us that. You need to make good decisions. I don't know if the bike was lighted. Definitely the grandson shouldn't have been driving intoxicated. We make poor decisions, and now that's ruined 2 families in Durham and so many friends. Kyler and Reed, the Jack's mother asked them 2 nights ago, can you come over and tell me some stories about my son? And it's just so touching, and it's tough. And I wanted to mention that and show my evil grandchildren a photo. And I'll skip most. We've met some solar people, 2 different groups, solar potential neighbors who are very upset about the state of Maryland. And I won't get into that a lot. And we do have a BOE joint meeting this afternoon. And the only other thing I want to say, we've released a proposed budget. Ted is doing his road show at various libraries. Last night he had 2 people. And if you're interested in the budget, he's the expert, and please come see him. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I'm going to forego my own comments this morning because I believe Commissioner Gordon has something very special for some very special
I
guests.
do, and we have a lot of very special guests today. Ms. Bixler, you want to come up front? So while she's making her way up front, I will say this. It's really awesome to see all of you here today with family. I know a lot of you get to see what your parents do in some fashion, but today you get to be in the building, experience a little bit more, and be involved. So just want to thank you all for being here today, and I'll turn it over to you first.
Sure, thanks. Good morning, everyone. Today marks Carroll County government's first official, what I believe to be, Bring Your Child to Work Day. So we're excited to welcome children of employees from across the organization. We have 12 children with us today, and their parents are from various organizations, Citizen Services, the Division of Roads, Planning and Land Management, Human Resources, so quite the variety of individuals. And we are excited to participate in the day designed to introduce them to county government and the important work that's happening here every day. A key focus of today is also giving our employees the opportunity to share their work firsthand with their children, to show them what they do, where they do it, and how their roles contribute to serving our community. Throughout the day, children will have the chance to explore county operations, take part in interactive activities, and learn more about the wide range of services provided by local government, from public safety and infrastructure to administrative and community support functions. So this is a meaningful way for us to connect families to our workplace, highlight the impact of public service, and help the next generation better understand how their community is supported. We appreciate the support of the commissioners and the participation of our employees and their departments in making this first-year event hopefully a success and hopefully something we can continue to do year after year. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the staff and Human Resources who really coordinated this. With me today are several of those staff. We have Lori Hierstetter. She'll just stand up and wave. Victoria Parks, Sam Rebert, and our intern, Emma Glider. So, thank you.
Well, first and foremost, thank you to all of you involved in putting this together. And with that, I'll read the proclamation. So we have a proclamation, Bring Your Child to Work Day. Whereas children benefit from opportunities to explore the world of work and gain a deeper understanding of the many careers and public services that support and strengthen our communities. And Bring Your Child to Work Day provides a meaningful opportunity for young people to experience a workplace environment, learn about responsibility, and connect classroom learning with real-world applications. And this day encourages curiosity, inspires future career interests, and fosters a greater appreciation for education, public service, and lifelong learning. And employees who share their workplace with their children help promote family engagement, mentorship, and a positive understanding of the important work performance by public servants each day. And our organization is committed to supporting families, strengthening community connections, and creating opportunities that encourage the next generation to explore their potential and contribute to society. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Carroll County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim Thursday, April 23rd, 2026 as Bring Your Child to Work Day, and encourage all employees and departments to participate in activities that provide educational, safe, and encouraging experiences for children while highlighting the valuable services provided to our community, adopted this 23rd day of April 2026, signed the Board of Carroll County Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you for being willing to skip school to come hang out with us.
I don't think we had to twist their arms.
I figured it wouldn't be too difficult, but I certainly hope everybody enjoys it, and try not to pull the fire alarm while you're in the building.
Since this is so special, can we do 2 photos? Can we just get kids up here for one, and then everybody?
Sounds good.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, kids, come on up. You gonna join us? I love your shirt. Go ahead. Head up and around the circle there.
Here comes a big kid.
Tall ones in the back.
Get in there, Mr.
Oh, man, we got the main photographer today.
Yeah. I had the short straw today, I guess.
12. You want to take some of these?
All right, everybody look here.
Wait for Tom.
Oh, I'll wait.
Sneak by it. Yep.
Right here, please. Thank you, everybody. And these will all be available on the county Facebook page. Okay. Make sure. Did you get signatures from these children? Okay.
Now-
Thank you,
now can
everybody.
we get the
Yeah,
the parents will join us up
this
here?
up here? I guess, kids, you gotta move forward because you're smaller than them. Right?
Not for long.
Oh, boy. I forgot my ladder.
We'll make it work.
Chris, use the chair with the wheels.
Yeah, that's, where's Captain Osha in here?
One on the right that looks like she's hiding.
Oh, yeah, there's
Parent.
somebody. No, I've got everybody I can see. Yep, yep. Everybody look here, please.
Camera, I can't see you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good job,
Hey,
everybody.
where all the kids go?
Have a fun day.
We've got something for all the kids here, just a little.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for coming. Here's a coin. Can't leave without a coin.
Hey, Xander.
You're welcome. Up next to their portraits. Yeah.
Coin, one of our county coins. Get
You
one?
got it.
Oh, there you go. You're welcome. Everybody get one?
Right here.
Can I head to the hallway, please? Sorry, we're
There we
emptying
go.
your
That makes
room.
better. Commissioner Vigliotti's photobombing you back there. Look right here.
You guys.
Right here. Thumbs up.
We don't want to brothers and sisters.
There it is. Thank you. Awesome
Your dad doesn't
job.
get one. Your dad doesn't get one.
She got one.
He's got to go back to work.
The more money I got, the more work I can do. The more money I have, the more work I can do. Appreciate you. That's good. I hope so.
Here, I'm going to give you another one. It's special.
Oh, good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what he hides in there. Yeah.
I demanded those come here, so. And Chris made it happen.
I provided.
Of course,
I don't
yeah.
have your pads yet, but I'm working on it.
So I know we're moving along to the meeting, but I just want to make one point, just in case anybody happened to notice. There was a small individual here this morning in a Pink County logo T-shirt, or excuse me, county polo shirt. That was self-funded. That was not any taxpayer dollars used for that, but
Of course not.
future commissioner in training there. So, but always great to see the kids.
Very much so, very much so.
Spring colors, which is good.
Exactly. Yes, we need some spring colors.
So up next, we have the Carroll County Career and Tech Center with the Tiny Home Project. Want to come down to the front, and we're happy to hear from you,
Jason, do you want?
and also Maryland Building Officials Association as well.
You could sit down if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want you to hide from the cameras. I know you're trying.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, great to be here.
If anybody else wants to come up front, you're welcome to if you're part of this.
Come on up, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on up, please. Come on up. Come on up. This is very interesting stuff. We don't.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, this project at Carroll County in Career and Tech, and I'm John Mercier of the Carpentry Program. We do a really, really good job of giving our kids the skills and knowledge that they need to obtain, maintain, and advance in employment opportunity. And in that light, we always thought that because this was done in the isolation of our own shops and our own labs. And if we look at the construction industry, we find that, well, we're not a lot in isolation. We have different contractors, we have inspectors, we have supervisors. And so we felt we needed something more, because in the end, we don't believe that we are training the grunts of the industry. We are training the future captains of their craft. And so we felt very strongly that we should have a practicum project where we bring all the areas together, where they have the opportunity to work with all the contractors, with the government officials, and everybody who's involved, the multitude of people that are involved in these types of home building projects. And so we had about 6 that we looked at that would fit the bill, and it always came back to the tiny home that checked the most boxes. So we're very enthused that we got this project underway. And we're very thankful, because it wasn't just the school and the committee at the school that took care of implementing and getting this developed. It was the state, it was the county. There was a lot of folks involved in this, and all supportive. And particularly the students. The students really wanted, not just the students who are doing it, but the students before them who started raising the capital, who never saw the project even start, but they knew there was a dream to do it, to bring it in. And they're the ones, through their student-run enterprises, who raised the capital to do this. And this is a very capital-intensive project. And so they are the real heroes, are the students who have done this and put this together and raised the funds to do it. And they are just very, very enthused about this project, as we are too.
That's absolutely awesome. So where can somebody go to find out more information about it, or even maybe help donate something or do something to help?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know what my marketing division has done there. We are going to put out a YouTube channel. As we go through the steps, we'll have it all on the YouTube, but I don't know if we have anything up on our website yet or not. This is really, this is the first one we've done, so this is all fresh, and right now our main focus is on the education aspects, to provide that experience for our students. And anything else is really kind of an afterthought, like marketing and that kind of thing. We're very focused on this for our kids.
Well, that's awesome. And if there's anything that you end up wanting us to share, we're happy to push it out through the county's website, through the county's email system. Just let us know.
Well, thank you.
And John, how long will the project take?
Well,
To do one.
Okay, so we're on our first one now, and we're in the framing stages now.
So will it last through different cycles of students, like through different semesters?
Yes. Yeah, and we're trying, so right now we're trying to get it so that it works out so that one class takes it from the start to the finish. That way they can see the sequence, and that they get the pride of knowing that they started it and they finished it. And so that's what we're after. So we're trying to figure out how we're going to coordinate that, how it's going to fit in, because it's not like they can come day one and work on it. They have to be trained before they can work on this, because quality is the utmost importance to us. And so we got to make sure that they know the material before they get in and do this whole practicum project.
First of all, it's a phenomenal idea. Your enthusiasm is contagious, and I appreciate that. But years ago, we used to do it with our portable classrooms, whatever we call them. They call them different learning huts or something now. But they used to sit outside, and they'd put them at our different schools. We don't really need those anymore, but that was always a very practical way of learning the trades. And I'm glad to see this, because it really is a hands-on thing to do. But hopefully it will continue, because this is a new way of the future, is to do some of these tiny home projects. And then, what do you do with it next? And then how do you get the funding to do another one?
Well, hopefully we can sell it and at least recoup our costs, if not better. And then go ahead and next time we'll be doing manufacturing two, and then we'll go from there. So hopefully there'll be a market for it when we go to sell it. We did no marketing survey. We figured we make it and they will come. because we're not really concerned, we're concerned about the educational stuff that we can get out of this.
But they
the
love to
learning.
see that it's going somewhere and it's being used.
Yeah.
It's practical.
Yeah, oh,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Everything about it, what it does is it establishes a love for the craft. And that's really what we're trying to do there. Get them to love the craft, because if they love what they do, then it's really just not a job. It's just a great experience, and the career will be filled with joy. And so this is one of those projects where I think you can build that, and where they can really have a deep appreciation and pride for working in the trades.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Now, as part of the Maryland Builders Association, would you like to say anything or share anything?
Yes, I was going to say, this comes at a great time when the code, the building codes, all of the codes, the electrical code, the building code, is starting to look at the tiny home construction as well as accessory dwelling units. This is a great time for Carroll County. I also highly support this. My son, I have a personal, he went through Carroll County Career and Tech. He is now a master electrician. So I support the trades 100%, and it's great to have the opportunity. And a few years ago, we did a donation when the project started, and we'd like to make another donation from the Maryland Building Association.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you for your continued support.
You're welcome.
We really appreciate that. And we do have something for you, 5 commissioners, if we could.
Absolutely.
We have a commemorative set of plans for each one of you. Cool. Retail value, priceless.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Very nice.
I have to say, this is truly impressive. I mean,
this
to
is so
have
cool.
career and tech students be able to utilize skills education firsthand, but then to have this collaboration community-wise with the Builders Association and everyone else. Because to me, one of the challenges, at least for me personally, when I was a student, was I wanted to see the hands-on ability. Because it's one thing to learn and memorize, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know, when you're doing tests and such. But to me, it was always, you know, what's the next step? And so what invaluable education and ability for all these students to see firsthand what they can do and what they can accomplish. And then to your point, you know, as we're seeing, you know, innovation in housing, where that may take them, whether it be in typical fashion or some of these other new types of housing we're looking at. So thank you so much for the hard work, and thank you to your students. I think this is just amazing.
And just looking at these plans, I haven't opened them yet, this is for a tiny home. And look at how much planning it takes, how much paperwork, how much time and energy and expense. And then you look at just building one house or one building, it's pretty big deal. So this is, I'll take a look at it. Thank you.
CCPS is a great school system, and Career and Tech is one of the jewels of Carroll County. I think it's the best one in the state easily. But I love going out there because you guys do so many things, and I don't think a lot of people realize it. You talked about standards. You guys, most classes are on national level standards, not Carroll County, not the state, and they get national awards. Now, I got to ask one question. The county people involved, the permits people, are they a help or have they been a burden?
Careful how you answer that.
And maybe you don't want to answer that today.
They've been a great help. Matter of fact, if we could, I would like to recognize one of those today, if I could.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, just one individual really stands out and has helped us immensely, not just with this project, but with all the project and with school-wide stuff. And he's just been great. And if I could get something. I'd like to recognize Jason Green.
Oh, very nice.
Jason, we thank you at the Career and Tech
Come on, Jason.
Wow.
for all that you have done in helping us not only with this project, but everything. Ever since I came here, I know you've been involved, and we really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice.
good.
Very nice.
I wasn't expecting this. So, it's my honor to help them. I mean, it is the future of our industry. I also want to thank the other folks from Career and Tech for being here. I mean, it's an honor to be a part of your organization and help you out where we can. The Maryland Building Officials Association, we have some other reps here that have been involved with this, and also we have 2 representatives from the state who have helped this project become a reality and
Yes.
through the state's process and to try to build this affordable housing and things like that. And it's the first in the state, so
Oh.
hopefully it's a model for other career and tech centers throughout, so really appreciate it.
And I think it's a testament to you guys, he said, not just this project, but in general. And that's the one thing, one of the many things I love about Carroll County. Everybody works together. We communicate, we work together, and we get more done because of that. So thank you, and sorry I said you were a burden. You know, everybody knew I was jerking.
Well, let's bring everybody up for a photograph. Jason, you got to come back up, brother.
Yep.
Chief, you gonna get in this one? We like to get your picture.
Jason, bring your award.
Yeah, everybody come on up. Come on up.
Come on up.
Come on up, everybody.
Jason, I didn't know they were. Shouldn't have said anything.
All right, everybody look here, please. And smile, thank you. If you don't mind, I'm gonna move this bag. I think we wanted to have
Just put it
that.
on my desk, it's fine. Here.
I got it out.
You sure it's out of the way?
Nope.
Yeah, that's
Thank
good.
you. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Transport it.
Okay. Absolutely.
Will do.
Thank
very
you.
much.
What an uplifting morning. We go from having youth in the building to learning
Yep.
more about what youth is doing to help with building in Carroll County.
Very much so. And I think our next couple of items, while they may not be the most fun, are also positive in the direction in which we are hoping they proceed. So up next, we have budget transfer for cancer screening tests and diagnostics. Good morning, Chief.
Morning.
The Department of Fire and EMS is seeking to purchase cancer screening kits and, excuse me, diagnostic services for 228 employees. DFEMS applied for a grant through the Maryland Department of Health, but the award was reduced from the initial request. A transfer is required to move forward with procurement of the cancer screening kits and diagnostic services. Essentially, what will happen is we have $24,000 that's available from our annual physical funding that has not been committed as of yet. And that $24,000 will fill the gap between the state grant and the rest of the employees. So this way, all 228 uniformed employees will have the ability to be tested. And as part of the grant, this will occur by the end of June this year.
I move the Board of County Commissioners approve Resolution O-26.04 to transfer $24,001 from grants unallocated to Innovative Cancer Screening Grant.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Is there any discussion?
And just to clarify, is that, I know it's written on the motion, but is it $24,401 or is it 20?
Supplemental appropriation, it's not, we didn't
Okay.
say that. but
Okay, all right,
They should say it in the motion.
yeah. Either way, we're going to approve it.
Is it
So
401?
you want to have your microphone, yeah.
No, I just wanted to say, in the motion, make sure we get it right.
Yeah,
You're-
okay, we're
You're,
good.
you're approving you're approving a supplemental appropriation. Are we transferring it, or is it just a supplemental appropriation? Doesn't matter, I mean, just make sure we say
Transfer.
it properly. It just says on the next page, supplemental appropriation herein.
I'm more concerned about the typo of the number.
We'll
I
get
just
there.
said
It's not a
24.
typo.
Well, we got Heidi,
It
so
is
Heidi will take
correct.
care of
Okay,
it.
all right.
Okay,
then.
okay.
The number's
Okay.
correct.
We have a second?
And we are doing a transfer.
All right.
Yes, we are doing a
Yeah.
transfer.
It's
It's correct, and it's a transfer.
Just
You
wanna
have
make
to
sure. It's not a
have the
supplemental-
money where you need it before you can spend it.
But so it's not a supplemental appropriation, it's a transfer? Okay.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Just don't want to say, on the budget, on the resolution, it
Good
just
part.
says, it says supplemental appropriation. It might just say transfer.
Okay.
You are welcome.
All right. Up next, now we have approval to purchase the cancer screening test. Thank you, Heidi. Morning.
All right. The Office of Procurement and Cooperation with the Department of Fire and EMS requests your approval to purchase one test cancer screening test kits for DFEM employees from 2020 Gene Systems in the amount of $62,700. 2020 Gene Systems is a single source provider due to the ability of an on-site sample collection, transportation of samples, interpretation of results, and innovative multi-cancer early detection testing. This amount is approved in the FY26 budget. This purchase will be 97% reimbursed through the FY26 Maryland Professional and Volunteer Firefighter Innovative Cancer Screening Technologies Grant.
Firefighters face elevated risk due to occupational hazards, and the cancer rate of firefighters overall in the United States is about 2 to 3 times when compared to ordinary citizens. With early detection through advanced screening, the hope is to improve outcomes for firefighters in Maryland. Legislation recently passed this past year requiring all career firefighters to be tested annually, and this law is appropriately named the Lieutenant Jim Malone Cancer Screening Act in honor of Jim Malone, who was a longtime state delegate and was also a lieutenant in Baltimore County. And Jim and I were very good friends, and spoke to him about a week before his passing, and he talked about having a law, not necessarily in his honor, but making sure that everyone could get early detection. And his family and members of the legislature promulgated this legislation, and now that it's signed into law, we will all be tested on an annual basis. I'll also mention that in this year's session, a companion law for volunteer testing was passed, and that was signed by the governor in the last several weeks. So essentially, the Maryland Department of Health has provided us with a one-time grant for this year. Has to be completed by the end of the fiscal year, and all 228 uniformed personnel from DFEMS will be tested within the parameters of this funding.
I move the Board of Commissioners approve the purchase of cancer screening test kits from the 2020 Gene Systems in the amount of $62,700.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, grant approval to submit application and acceptance of award of Stop the Bleed program.
The Stop the Bleed program is a nationally recognized initiative designed to empower the public to act quickly and effectively in the event of severe bleeding emergencies. Uncontrolled hemorrhage remains a leading cause of preventable death in trauma incidents, particularly within the first few minutes following injury, often before emergency responders arrive. Our department has prioritized community risk reduction and public education. The Stop the Bleed program aligns directly with our mission of providing hands-on training and equipping individuals with the knowledge and tools necessary to save lives. So this grant, which we will be getting through the, I believe, the Health Department, will allow us to provide additional Stop the Bleed kits, which includes tourniquets, gloves, gauze, and other things. And in fact, in this building, we have placed that equipment in our automatic defibrillators. So if somebody has an emergency and you grab a defibrillator out of the cabinet, there should be Stop the Bleed equipment there. We're going to be expanding our community initiatives, schools, businesses, civic organizations, We'll be working with our 14 volunteer companies, some of which are already doing this training. So together, both career and volunteer personnel will be doing this to increase the number of trained civilians who can provide immediate care. And we will also be retraining our personnel so that we are proficient in the current practices, and together with our advanced techniques, including our whole blood program, this all ties in together for the community outreach component. This has shown to significantly improve survival. By equipping and training the public, we will extend ourselves beyond our traditional field responses, and there's no county match for this grant. So the total of the grant is $2,500, and with your authorization, we'll be applying for that, and we'll hopefully be able to receive this.
Any questions or comments from the board?
I move the Board of County Commissioners approve the submission of the FY26 Stop the Bleed Program funding grant application and accept the award.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'll just make a brief statement, and I don't think my colleagues will mind, but in 4 short years, how Carroll County, the EMS where we are, is now leading the state in issues such as this, and you mentioned whole blood and airway management and things of that sort, and it's just absolutely extraordinary. So this is just another little component to that, and our sincere thanks to all the volunteer companies and DFEMS and you and your staff, in particular Chief Zaney and Dr. Kemp, for what you've done. It's not unusual now for those of us up here to go around. If we're around the state, someone always mentions the success that we've had here in Carroll County, and it's extraordinary and extends beyond even DFEMS over to HR and staff and everybody involved in making what is happening here in Carroll County is absolutely extraordinary, and we couldn't be more proud of it. So, and thank you, Chief.
Thank you, and it's definitely a team effort with everybody involved, not just DFEMS, but our volunteer companies, certainly HR, and certainly all of you for being as supportive as you've been. So we appreciate it.
And, I don't know that the average person, including myself, appreciates all those little things that are on our EMS vehicles that get you to the hospital so that you can survive to be there. I've learned a lot, and we don't tell that story enough, but it is incredible, the things you brought to us of now how to save lives before you get there. Because if you don't get to the hospital, you're not, or to make your outcomes be better. So I agree with Commissioner Gurin and his statement, and it's a well-oiled machine with the volunteers and the paid, and it's been an extraordinary ramp up to getting fully staffed.
And the missing link is obviously citizen intervention prior to our arrival. So this
And
is gonna help us
911,
with
and the
that.
911 operators.
Yes.
Yes.
I would agree, and I think it's a testament, like it's been mentioned by a number of people here, to everybody involved. And as we all at times will say, Carroll County does best because we work together, and it's a perfect example of that. And Commissioner Guerin, I want to thank you for those comments, because I think obviously you sit on ESAC, which we all know you take that exceptionally serious, and I greatly appreciate your devotion to that. But, I think it says a lot, and I think it says a lot about all of us involved, especially the volunteers and everyone that's been mentioned this morning. But I want to thank you for those comments. I do appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you, Commissioner.
I will echo those sentiments as well. Very well said, Commissioner, and thank you for the service that you've given.
Yes.
My pleasure.
Any other questions, discussion, or comments? We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Up next, we have a request for referral to Planning Commission for the Maryland Accessory Dwelling Units Requirements and Prohibitions from State Bill, or HB 1466, with text amendments to the county code. Good morning, ladies.
Morning.
Good morning. So we're here, as you mentioned, to get your approval to work with the Planning and Zoning Commission on possible text amendments that are the result of some legislation that was passed in the 2025 legislative session. Tiffany's going to give you an overview of what all we're talking about, and trying to give you a sense of what the high-level view of is related to the legislation and what we might need to change. So just very briefly as an introduction, particularly for folks who may be watching and are not familiar with the process, generally when we have text amendments to our code, we come before you, we get your permission to then work with the Planning Commission to dig into the details of those code revisions, and then they make a recommendation back to you. And at that point, then it goes for public hearing and all kinds of opportunity to change things around. So we're at the very beginning of this process now. That's what we're doing here today. So with that, I will turn it over to Tiffany, but just before I do that, I do want to mention the only little wrinkle in this text amendment process here that's a little different is that the legislation that was passed in 2025 actually requires local jurisdictions to pass legislation related to this bill. So there is like an extra requirement in there that isn't always in some of the legislation. A lot of times we're coming to you trying to update our codes in response to things that the state has passed. This actually had that requirement embedded in the legislation. Okay, so now I'll turn it over to Tiffany to give you kind of an overview of what we're talking about here and what the Planning Commission might be discussing.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
So first, we'll go over, before we get into the details, we'll go over just how this presentation is going to be organized. We'll start with an overview of the background and the legislation, and this will be including a summary of House Bill 1466 and the key requirements that each jurisdiction must meet, and then that will also help frame why we're here before you today and what the state now mandates with this new legislation. After that, we'll go into next steps, and that will include potential changes to our zoning code and a proposed timeline. And then finally, we'll go over questions and discussion, and that will be a time for feedback, clarification, and direction. So with that, we'll begin with the legislative background. Not to be repetitive, but as Daphne had mentioned during last year's session, the Maryland General Assembly passed HB 1466 that does require all jurisdictions adopt a local law authorizing ADU or accessory dwelling units are allowed to be developed on land with a single-family detached dwelling. So in other words, every jurisdiction is required to update its local code to allow ADUs in a manner consistent with the state's new framework. Because of the state-mandated change, a text amendment is required by October 1st of this year to bring the county code in alignment with this new legislation. This timeframe will involve, as Daphne had already mentioned, reviewing our existing code, determining what changes are necessary, and completing the formal adoption process. Today, staff is requesting approval to begin that process. Staff would like to take this to, receive approval to discuss new requirements with the Planning and Zoning Commission and draft a text amendment for your review and approval by October 1st of this year. So House Bill 1466 does outline several key requirements jurisdictions must follow, including allow the creation of accessory dwelling units on land that with a single-family detached dwelling unit as the primary dwelling unit. This essentially ensures that property owners have the option to co-locate an ADU with any single-family dwelling unit. Next, the bill provides a specific definition for ADUs. An ADU is considered a secondary unit on the same lot, parcel, or tract as a primary single-family detached dwelling unit, and it must not be greater than 75% of the primary unit. And the ADU can be either a separate standalone structure or an attached addition to the existing primary dwelling unit. This would include internal ADUs as well. Jurisdictions must allow ADUs that meet established public health, safety, and welfare standards, including building codes and adequate public facility requirements. So while ADUs must be permitted, they will still need to comply with health and safety regulations. Another requirement is that jurisdictions must exempt ADUs from density calculations. This means that the presence of an ADU cannot be used to say a property exceeds zoning density limits. And then finally, the development of an ADU must be exempt from any residential growth control measures that might otherwise restrict additional housing units on the property. An example of that might be requiring a larger lot for a single-family dwelling that includes an ADU. It can't require a larger lot than is required for just the single-family dwelling itself. The bill also places specific limitations on what jurisdictions are allowed to regulate. Jurisdictions are prohibited from imposing additional parking requirements on ADUs without first completing a parking study to determine the jurisdiction's parking needs. And it also prohibits establishing side and rear setback requirements that exceed existing accessory structure setback requirements. In other words, an ADU cannot be treated differently than maybe, say, a shed or a garage as far as rear and side setbacks are required. The bill does allow for some flexibility in the ADU regulations. First, the bill allows jurisdiction to establish standards specifically focused on ADU safety. While ADUs must be permitted, we can still ensure they meet appropriate safety criteria. Second, we could be more permissive regarding the location if wanting to do so. So it doesn't have to be only with single-family dwelling units. Another one is the bill permits jurisdictions to set front setback requirements different from existing accessory structure setback requirements, unlike the rear and side setback requirements. We can also establish parking requirements if the parking study does demonstrate that, if we chose to do the parking study, does demonstrate an applicable need and restrictions. And then we can also establish guidelines, programs, or regulations regarding existing structures. That could include permitted or non-conforming structures to be converted from uninhabitable to habitable, existing and existing illegal ADUs. So this could help bring older or informal structures into compliance. All right, now that we've gone over what is required and prohibited and allowed with the bill, we'll go through the potential updates we may need to consider when looking at our own code. These changes could involve chapters 155, 156, and 158. As mentioned earlier, we would need to address our definition to align with the state's set definition on ADUs. We would also need to change where our code currently allows ADUs. Right now, the attached, I should specify that it is the attached ADUs are allowed in agriculture, conservation, and residential district, and then detached accessory dwelling units are only permitted in the agriculture and conservation district, and that's on lots that are at least 3 acres in size, and it must be within 50 feet of the principal dwelling unit per our code right now. We may need to adjust our use tables and some other regulations in our current code that might need to be adjusted or revisited include the size of an ADU, the bulk and dimensional standards, the number of bedrooms allowed, and possibly our owner occupancy requirements, as well as the aforementioned parking requirements. And then finally, we would likely need to consider if ADUs should remain exempt from concurrency management. Okay, before we begin drafting a text amendment, we need approval from this board to take the proposed changes to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and this slide outlines our anticipated timeline if approval is granted today. We begin today with a request for approval to bring this topic forward to the Planning and Zoning Commission for discussion. And if approval is granted, we anticipate that May through July would be coordinating with the Planning and Zoning Commission to develop a draft text amendment. And then in July, once those discussions are completed, we would return to you with the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendations, and at that point, we would request approval to schedule a public hearing on the amendment. In August, upon receiving approval, we would advertise the public hearing for 2 consecutive weeks as required, and then either late August or early September would likely be a public hearing to have to hear from the community and accept public comment, and then finally in mid-December, you would vote on the proposed amendment.
Well, thank you very much. So I have a question, I guess, to kick us off. So I see on slide 4, the legislation excludes ADUs from density calculations, but then on slide 6, it allows the establishment of standards for ADU safety, and you'd mentioned public safety. And then on slide number 7, you noted at the very bottom possible modifications to our adequate public facilities ordinance. So I guess my question is, how does adequate public facilities ordinance, how do they factor into the establishment of ADUs? You know, we're talking about things like law enforcement, fire and EMS, and schools. Do we have to change our adequate public facilities to reflect what the state is requiring us to do with ADUs? Or do ADUs have to conform to what our adequate public facility says?
You want that one? Or?
This is part of the discussion that we need to dig into in terms of
Okay.
understanding what we might want to change with our APFO, for instance, to address the possibility for ADUs to be allowed kind of anywhere in the, anywhere that you could have a single-family dwelling unit. I think we haven't yet really dove in and analyzed the potential implications for that, what that would mean for schools, what that would mean for fire and EMS, that sort of thing. Those are the kinds of things that we'd like the opportunity to work with the Planning Commission to get some information on and kind of do that analysis and come back with some recommendations for you
Okay.
all.
And that makes sense. 'Cause and I guess more of a general sense, I was trying to, and I apologize if I was unclear from my end. I'm just trying to understand whether we have to ensure that what the state requires conforms to what we have for adequate public facilities, or we would have to change our adequate public facilities to conform with what the state is requiring us to do. And if you don't have an answer today, that's quite okay. I totally understand this is all new stuff, and we're
Yeah.
all trying to work through this. So
No, I think the conundrum here is that they're requiring us to allow for ADUs, but they're also giving us the flexibility to say how we want to make sure that the presence of ADUs doesn't create a problem for our public facilities. So we have a little wiggle room. So I don't know that we have to conform with the state in that regard. But I also don't know what we might want to change with our own ordinances at this time.
Okay. And that makes
Answer
perfect.
your question?
It-
Sorry if
yeah,
I'm not.
No, it's all right, Daphne. I mean, again, I know it's all new stuff, and we're all trying to respond to what the state is requiring us to do. So certainly, I think something that we need to keep in mind as we move forward through these discussions. So I've understood completely, and you've answered my question as best as possibly could be answered today. So.
We have a little flexibility, I think,
All right.
too.
May I add to that
Yeah,
as well?
sure.
Please.
Just right now, the ADUs are exempt from concurrency management, so I think it would be an example of would we now include them in the concurrency management or not include them? And then also possibly it could get more in detail after that, but I think that's really the
Also helpful. Thank you very much. Thank you.
first question.
Thank you. This legislation is very problematic, and this is actually much more complicated than people probably realize. Not you, I think we all realize sitting up here, and I think the Planning and Zoning Commission has got its work cut out for it. I particularly am displeased that it seems to be targeting, the bylaws of HOAs, which are there for a reason, and it seems to suggest that bylaws and HOAs, can't create, it says unnecessary obstacles or whatever it says, but I mean, those HOA bylaws there for a reason. The other thing that we have standards within the county, obviously, in terms of setbacks and things like that. So the Planning and Zoning Commission would have to take a look at those things. I'm sure bulk requirements, for lack of a better term, sort of factor into this as well, because with a 10-foot setback, you don't want somebody building a two-story house as long as it's 75%, less than the primary residence. That doesn't seem right either. So as much as we dislike the fact that we have to, adopt bad legislation here in Carroll County, and I think this is bad legislation, it seems like it's going to be a pretty complicated issue to try to work through.
I just want to mention, this has been a discussion for a long time of ADUs, and I know when we adopted it the first time that you talked about, I don't know what slide that is. What was the rationale? Were we forced to do that then, or did we just do it? Did the county adopt it on these
Our
other?
own regulations?
Yes, the current regulations. Was that something that was mandated, or did we just make the decision locally to do that?
I wasn't here then, I'm not sure, I don't know if anybody has any.
It's been a while.
Yes, I was here. No, that was an initiative of the commissioners. They wanted to accommodate them, but make sure that they were.
Right, and back then,
restrictions.
it was accommodated in ag and conservation, and it depended on, I guess, the area, what was appropriate. So this discussion has been going on for a long time, and people, you gotta remember, when people write legislation, they have a certain thing in their mind of what it's gonna be. And it really was about in-law apartments, dwellings, family members, a caregiver, having that ability to do that. But one size does not fit all. We say that all the time, and that's why I don't like the state telling us what to do, because there's so many issues, and I think we need to push back a little, as was just mentioned, but the homeowner, some of those are site plans. They're owned by the community association. Can you mandate it on that? Can you mandate it on one that's not as a subdivision, but is controlled by a homeowner association? I know there are some homeowner associations don't allow a shed. Okay, we don't allow them to shed to put their lawn tractor in, but we are now going to allow a building next to that. So it doesn't seem consistent with what people expect. The other little issues that come up that are sort of ongoing that are problematic. Right now, it sounds like it might be a granny apartment or an in-law apartment. Nobody has a problem with that. But then what happens to owner occupancy? Because as things move on, that owner might move, and then they have two pieces. Can this one now be rented out? What's the purpose of it? What's to keep corporations from, they're buying a lot of homes and renting them out. There's been a lot of news about that. What keeps them from buying all these houses up, putting another dwelling on it, and then they have two to rent out, that commercializes it. So the vision that people have of what they think these should be for, the devil's in the details of what they really could be. They can become major opportunities for commercial folks to come in and just buy up houses and add another dwelling in a place they really don't belong.
Just
So-
regular rental units, basically. Yeah.
Yes, they turn into regular rental units. And again, it's all different depending on the size of the property. So we got to look at all those different nuances of what could happen, not just today, but 10 years from now and 15 years from now, and property turnover, and what, then you've got, two homes on the same property. And it could be on 20 acres, it could be on a quarter acre. Putting a little thing on a quarter acre and changing setbacks, it can change a whole neighborhood. So that's one issue. The other one is the septics. A lot of our, folks have septics, and on a half-acre lot, not substantial, but I know currently, and I'm not sure if it's going to conflict, but currently, if you even add a bedroom onto your house, you have to expand your septic system. If it's not, you have to upgrade it to best available technology, I believe. I had this thing a few years ago with somebody, they were just adding a bedroom on. If you add on something that's not a bedroom, you don't necessarily have to do it, but if it's a bedroom, you're assuming more people live in the house, even though you might be adding a bedroom on for someone that already lives there. So the septic capacity is a big issue, because it's not fair to make you and I put a whole new septic system in because we're adding a bedroom for our fifth kid, but the person that's adding the ADU on doesn't have to do best available technology for both. So that whole issue, making sure it's consistency between an addition on somebody's home and now adding a dwelling, what does that look like with regard to the septics? I don't know if that was addressed in the bill. Setbacks is an issue. Again, I talked about the shed. We get a permit for our shed that's small, and what's the setback for that? It can't be any different. 75% of a current size of a house is a lot different than somebody's shed. So I think we should try to work within the spirit of what is trying to be done, which we did, I think, already in what was passed whenever. But some of the stuff we got to push back on. This is because it is not one size fits all. Sprinklers. I know if you put an additional now, you have to, over a certain size of your home, if you add on, you have to sprinkle your whole home, which is crazy. And I don't know if the counties have jurisdiction over how much of that. I know in Howard County, my son just built an addition on, and he was going to have to sprinkle his whole home, which would have been impossible. It's an old house. But because the basement was finished, it wasn't over 50%. But if you add on over 50%, you have to sprinkle your whole home. Well, that's problematic as well. Is that the same? And I don't know if that was a state law or it's Howard County law, but on the sprinkling, I know if it's over a certain amount, make sure, again, that's consistent because that could be problematic. Whether it's a secondary home or if it's attached, is that considered an addition? And does everything have to be? On one hand, we don't want to discourage it, but we also don't want to encourage something that's not going to be compatible with what we envision the purpose of these dwellings as in-law dwellings, family members, caregivers, but that it doesn't say that has to be. That's just what people envision. And then the adequate public facility obviously is an issue too, because you'd hate for somebody to come in, and we encourage all of this, but then the guy who's trying to develop the property over here is held back. He's waiting for years and years to get permission to build his little development when these can be added on, in an existing neighborhood in the same catchment area. And it wouldn't be, I don't think it would be constitutionally equal for this one to be okay. Again, if it gets to be commercialized, it's a possibility. So we just want to make sure we're treating a new subdivision sort of similarly as somebody that could be buying up houses in a community and then just adding them on. And the current ADUs are not included in APFO, and that's probably maybe because they were one-off.
Yeah.
If this would become a situation where, somebody would come in and buy a bunch of older houses and up them and try to put another dwelling on, it could be more of a substantial impact. So we just have to consider what could it be? And again, it depends on where it is. It depends on where they're located. So a lot of nuances to it. I really vehemently used to oppose all of these things, not as bad ideas, but bad in telling you how to do it. And I think we already had done some of it in the previous chapter, and it doesn't seem to be a problem, but it could be more problematic doing it everywhere.
Yeah.
And I guess the towns are involved with this, or the towns are going to have to deal with this as well.
That's correct, yeah.
You might want to have a powwow with them because they're, in the more dense areas is where it's going to be more problematic because you have to be able to do it almost on any property, and so you might brainstorm with the towns because they're going to be in the same boat.
Yep, good idea.
Thank you. I'm sorry you have to have all these challenges in your lap at the same time. And I would suggest doing it on the least aggressive timeline. That is there
It has to be adopted in October.
by October, just what you have?
Yeah, and the reason why we're in front of you now, even though it doesn't have to be in effect until October, is because we've kind of scoped out the time frame, and I hope built in enough time that we can be in front of the Planning Commission multiple times to dig into this.
And do we know anywhere else that's done this that we could see what problems they had or didn't have? I don't know if they mandated this anywhere else or they've adopted it. I don't know, in the state or somewhere that we would see proactively what their problems are that are come up after the fact. Like Montgomery County, have they had it?
We'll have to go back and look. There was a kind of webinar presentation that the state gave that went through some of these provisions and other jurisdictions that had something similar in place. I don't remember seeing one jurisdiction that covered everything. So I think a lot of places are going to have to do at least minor tweaks, but we can try to get some information on what jurisdictions have kind of the most comprehensive set of code requirements and what their experience has been. And
Because they might be a couple of years ahead of us to see problems that we might maybe could anticipate. I do anticipate there can be some inconsistencies with new development and also, again, just addition, that currently what we require for an addition for certain folks, and again, we have lots of septics in the whole county that have land that would be able to do this, and it could be problematic with that. But it's going to be a little more tricky than it sounds.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, any further comments or questions? All right, are there any actions or directions from the board?
Well, I think the challenge, I'm just going to make a comment real
I'm sure.
quick. I think the challenge is, obviously, there's things that a variety of us aren't going to be happy with this moving forward from the state's perspective, but obviously, we're going to have to review it and have planning and zoning do that, so I'm just making the comment because I know there's a variety of things for me that I have concerns. I know Commissioner Garen's mentioned a few, Commissioner Krebs has mentioned a few, but obviously, you said we've got till October, I think it was, to get this in place, and
Right, yeah.
that is, I think, kind of a short timeline, as we all know, when you're dealing with planning and zoning. So it's going to be a lot of work, and I know our staff's dedicated. So with that, I move the board directs staff to work with the Planning and Zoning Commission to draft a text amendment to address the Maryland accessory dwelling unit legislation of 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Is there any further discussion?
I just want to make sure, I know you will, but the comments that we brought here, there's just a few off the top of our head. I just thought of it sitting here. Make sure they get addressed. And I don't think we need to have the most aggressive policy. We want to do what's right for Carroll County. And in the spirit of what we're trying to do, but there's a lot of different situations, and hopefully this will be well vetted by folks and well advertised so everybody can think of their own situations and what could occur, so we don't have to be putting out fires later.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have a request for public hearing for text amendments to chapters 115 and 158, planned commercial centers. You look awfully familiar.
Hello again.
A totally different person now that she's in that seat.
Okay, so this is another text amendment, and this is kind of at the tail end of the process now. So I was before you on February 5th with a proposal to take some amendments related to planned commercial centers, specifically residential in the planned commercial centers, and work with the Planning Commission to suggest changes specifically that would address some of the concerns that have been noted as part of the deferral, planned commercial center deferral. The Planning Commission reviewed that on March 4th and 17th, and then made their recommendation. So I'm here to present their recommendation and get your approval to move these proposed text amendments to a public hearing. So again, I will give you a little bit of background, sort of what our code says now, and then what the Planning Commission's recommendation and our staff request is. So as you may recall, there were some concerns that have been put forth in terms of how planned commercial centers that use a residential option lack sufficient guidance and requirements in our code to really fully align with specifically the 2018 Freedom Community Comprehensive Plan's vision and goal. And I've highlighted in the vision statement a couple of references to managing growth and preserving character of existing communities that kind of highlights some of the main concerns related to residential in planned commercial centers. So just briefly, a history of how we got residential in planned commercial centers. These were previously known as planned business centers, which were regulated in our zoning code. In 2004, that was transferred over to our subdivision regulations. And in 2007, a provision was added to allow for the second floor of a planned business center to have residential uses. In 2019, the name was changed to planned commercial center, but essentially it was the same exact thing. I just wanted to highlight that planned business center and planned commercial center is the same. That name just changed to align with our commercial zoning districts. So our code refers to planned commercial centers in a couple of different places. First of all, there is a definition that appears in our subdivision, development and subdivision of land chapter, chapter 155, and our zoning regulations, chapter 158. It's the same definition in both places. Our zoning regulations only address planned commercial centers in terms of the regulation of principal uses and accessory uses. And it notes that dwellings are allowable accessory uses in planned commercial centers. Where the bulk of our regulations lie is in Chapter 155. I've noted here the 3 sections that relate to planned commercial centers in general, but the important section is 155.092D, accessory uses, and this is where the residential uses as accessory to a planned commercial center are detailed. And you can see right here, these 5 bullets are really all that we have in our code related to that. So the concern is that we really have no building or site design requirements that would address the unique needs of a residential use on a planned commercial center, other than maybe providing for additional parking. So the direction from you all in February was to look at removing residential as an accessory use in planned commercial centers, and in 155, and then maybe modifying some language in 158 to align with that. And of note, to make sure that any existing planned commercial centers that have residential uses on the second floor don't become non-conforming uses. So that was the direction to the Planning Commission, with some additional discussion about the fact that we've been talking with the master plan update about mixed-use development, where it might be appropriate, where it might not be appropriate, how to achieve the kinds of good design, good quality that we'd like to see, that we're maybe not seeing with planned residential and planned commercial centers now. So looking to our master plan process and some of the work of the consultants right now to give some direction on that. Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this on March 4th. That's when we introduced it, and then made a recommendation to remove the language for accessory uses in planned commercial dwellings as accessory uses in planned commercial centers entirely from 155, and modify the language in 158 to reference only dwellings in planned commercial centers as of a certain date being allowed. So I'm just going to show you 2 slides that show what that looks like in code, and this is what would be then sent for public hearing. So I apologize that this is small. I just wanted to get it all on one page, but it's essentially that entire section that talks about residential as an accessory use to a planned commercial center. So the recommendation is to remove 155.092D entirely. And then the language in 158 that would be added under accessory uses in the commercial district would be to only allow dwellings accessory to a planned commercial center when approved prior to December 18th, 2025. And that's the date that the deferral went into effect. And we figured that since this is connected to that action, that would be a good date to kind of set in motion. So the staff request is approval to schedule a public hearing on the proposed amendments to Chapter 155 and 158.
Definitely have a couple questions. How many of these exist now within the county?
As far as we've been able to determine, only 2, and they're both in the Freedom area.
And I think that anyone that really looks at them would say that they're not a benefit to our community. Somebody has said, oh, they're affordable. They're not affordable. They're over $2,000 a month. They're not nice to live in. There's no parking accessible. There's a million different issues, and they can be done nicely. The whole purpose, I think, of mixed use is to have oh, there's beautiful mixed use, lots of places, but it's planned. You look at our main streets, they're mixed use. We have businesses downstairs and we have people living upstairs on all of our main streets. That's what we were talking about. We're not getting that product or anything like that. So we need to say, what is it we're trying to get? And I go back to our main streets, and I think they're beautiful many places. So, but when you have no design requirements, I drove by this, there's not a person I've talked to, they say, look at that place. Again, it's not affordable. It's, the other day, I have a problem too. They've got their grills out on their patios. It's a fire hazard. I mean, you're not allowed to have a grill next to your home. You could burn the place down. It's a problem. It's, so we need to say, what is it we want them to be? And I think they'd probably rather have them be better, have parking that's dedicated to them in the rear versus parking with the patrons out front going to get tobacco or whatever. So, you know, we can do better than this, and I think thoughtfully we can. Again, the towns were built a long time ago, and they've just followed along, and they've been beautiful ever since. They have rear parking in their alleys. They have front parking. I'm not sure if they have little driveway parking, but we got to look at all that. We can't just throw this stuff up and say, here, do whatever you want. So I think the idea of removing this, keeping the two that are there, again, I don't believe they're an asset to our community. Sorry, they were allowed because we didn't have any real guidelines for it. I don't think anybody would really say, look at this is a benefit. But there are places that have very nice, and mixed use means 1,000 different things. It's just a term that could mean big malls down in Annapolis. So, you know, what is it? And this is a planned commercial center with residential on top with nothing guiding it. And even our planned commercial centers, you can make them we can make them visually attractive without the bright lights at night, without the neon signs, without all the different letterings. I mean, it is our main street, and I think most of our main streets have been fixed up very nicely in our towns, and I would like to have that sort of be similar, and also for the people that live there. I mean, this is going to be a big lift since we've never really had the design guidelines before, and most of our towns existed before, and maybe their guidelines are in line with, it has to follow what's already there. I'm not sure what their guidelines are, but they've obviously upgraded their main streets and have done it nicely. Things like design guidelines with, like I know there's some storage facilities, they make look like a barn if they're putting them out in the middle of somewhere. They make them fit into their main streets. That's on a facility, but you want them to fit in, just like our main streets fit in. So we have the two current, are there any in progress? Are there any recommended? Okay, I would suggest that since there is nobody that's on hold, a lot of these deferrals had no one on hold, and that's a good thing. We need to take some time to do it. It's not urgent because we got a lot of other things to do. I wouldn't put it on the top of the list. The things that are holding people up, we should do that first. This is going to take some time, I think, to do it properly if we're going to allow this all over the county. So, I mean, I would suggest, and I can make the motion if you want, that is it the first?
Action under action.
The first action,
Only action.
where is it?
No, go back. Keep going, keep going. Keep going, keep going.
Oh, we're right
There you
here,
go.
okay. Now, I want, in this action, it doesn't tell us what the proposed amendments are, so I want to make sure that we give the direction, so, of what the proposed amendments are. And they are, it's not in my motion. So that amendment would be on
Do you
page
want the
8.
specific sections of code?
Well, I'm looking here, I'm looking at page 8, is that what I would be part of that amendment? I want to say what the proposed, we're saying
It's on
a public
page 10.
hearing for changes related, but what are they? And it's on page 8 or is it on page 10?
Page 10.
You could say as presented.
Well, but it might just say it, so what?
Or related to residential uses in planned commercial
Well, it looks like on page 8, it says here, text amendment reviewed and recommended at the meeting are these two specific things. Remove entirely in chapter 155 and modify 158, would that be appropriate? Well, it's on page, that way it'd be very specific of what.
It's not
So-
155 as a whole. It's
No,
this-
the text amendment regarding the residential as an accessory and a use in a planned commercial center.
Center, yes, yeah.
Is it
There
the-
is there on your, if you have your briefing paper, there's a recommended motion
I
there
know, but
that-
it's not, I don't think it's specific enough what we're telling it to do. So it is basically the direction that's on page 8 in the top slide. Remove residential as an accessory
Yeah,
use.
but it's not chapter 155. It's 155-.092D, as in David, that you
Just
want
like to be
removed
specific what we're telling
entirely.
them to do. Okay.
So it's 155-092D
Mm-hmm.
and 158
083.
083AL.
If this
So you want
isn't,
one
if this
removed
isn't
entirely
urgent,
and one modified, because the second one's not being removed entirely.
That's correct, yeah.
if this isn't urgent, and we would like to hear comments from the consultant, would it help you guys with staff time if we didn't schedule a public hearing yet? Is there a reason not to wait until we get more input to schedule a public hearing? In other words, you guys kind of put this on hold
Yeah.
and work on other stuff that we think's more urgent. Do you guys agree with that, or?
Well, what we don't want is someone thinking that they can do
Filing it.
this, and filing
Right.
and spending time and then saying here and saying, oh, no, we can't do it, because the deferral is going to run out before this happens. We don't want to have to extend the deferral for this. If you take it out, then we can just work on it and
When you're ready.
when we're ready. One way or another, we're going to have to go back.
Yeah.
If we don't do this, if we do this, you're going to have to go about this. If we don't do it, we're going to have to extend the deferral on this. And it'd be better to not extend the deferral. There'd be predictability right now, and then we're directing you to come back so that there
Correct.
is clear, that they clearly know you cannot do this on this currently as is. And you won't have to worry about extending anything again, because it will not be done by the time the 6 months is up. We can tell you that.
Yeah, and also, part of the kind of impetus behind this is that we have had a lot of conversations related to the master plan about mixed use, but those discussions haven't gone to the point where we have any, like, clear sense of where that might be appropriate, where it might not be appropriate, what we want to try to achieve with that. And I feel like those discussions might extend, again, definitely beyond the timeframe for the deferral, and may lead to some further recommendations that would extend beyond, well beyond that. So
And
I
short
think
of
that's
taking this
kinda-
out, we're not giving you a timeline necessarily to do the rest until you've gone through some of these planning processes and discussion of what we're trying to accomplish. I think that's what you're trying to say.
Right, yeah.
Okay, all right, so I will make more, I move that the Board of County Commissioners direct staff to schedule a public hearing for proposed amendments to County Code Chapters 155 and 158 related to residential accessory uses in planning commercial centers, and specifically, remove residential as an accessory use in planned commercial centers in Chapter 155, remove entirely 092D, 158, modify accessory use language to reduce only dwellings in planned commercial centers as of a certain date to allow for legacy projects, which there are two, to be permitted uses, not non-conforming. I just want to ask you about, and that's in section 083AL. Let me just ask on that, so that's my motion.
Let's get a second.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, thanks.
Just want to ask on that particular one, to make that non-conforming, what's the difference if it was made non-conforming, or what would it allow for or not allow for, one way or another?
So the non-conforming status would, there are limitations in terms of how much that could be modified or expanded. But the big thing with that is typically if you wanted to do something, like if they wanted to sell the property or something like that, having a non-conforming status is always a little bit of a red flag in terms of where does this property lie for, in the sort of the legal status of things. It might be harder to get loans to make property improvements, or if they wanted to come in and modify their site plan at all, it makes it a little bit more challenging if it's a non-conforming use.
Well,
So
we have not, I mean, you're going to take it out to public hearing. Before we come back, and approve it, or put it in there, I would like to understand what that means more, only because I'm concerned of what we already have, that it maybe is not restricted enough, like I said, with safety issues. And I don't know, just, so we'll put it, it'll come back to us, and then we can maybe
Yep.
learn some more about that.
But the public hearing is for the changes we're voting on
Yes,
now.
yes.
That's what I want to make sure okay.
They're going to have a
Just wanna
hearing
make
on it,
sure
then
you
we'll know more
understand
when
that.
we come back.
Yeah, there's plenty of work to do in the future, but the public hearing would be on what we're voting on
Yes,
now,
but-
not the design standards or all these other things that are going to take place.
No, but what I'm saying is on the second part of making them conforming or non-conforming, in that period of time before it comes back to us, we might know what the benefits or not benefits would be to allowing that.
Sure.
So, just so I'm understanding correctly, we're including non-conforming uses?
We're basically saying the ones that are there would not be non-conforming, to take this to public
They
hearing.
would be allowable.
Would be allowable.
Okay.
But we've not
Allowable
decided.
accessory
It's just going to be, comments on it so we can learn more about what that would mean to the two that are there. And then when we adopt it, we can either adopt it with both, or we can, right now, we're just sending it out for.
Non-conforming or not. I think just basically
Yes.
Commissioner Krebs would like more information on what
What
it
that
means
means.
to be non-conforming.
Right, and what that
Now,
would mean.
now it makes sense to me.
And we have,
Okay.
but we have time before we adopt it to learn all that and
Yeah,
get
we
the
could-
comments on.
Yep. Definitely get you a memo on what non-conforming means. so
I
you
know what it means, but like, what would it
Well,
mean for
it-
this,
it's- For these, more specifically,
Right,
what
okay.
impact it has on.
Impact is a good way to put
Trying
it. All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any other discussion?
I understand the concerns, but I want to be very transparent that if we're going to have a public hearing, I want to hear comments from the public, whether they agree with us or disagree with us. I don't want to restrict this too much. I know, and again, affordable's relative. I know first-year teachers that were able to rent these because they could afford them, and I hate to take that away from them, but I think we need to see where we're headed.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Daphne.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
All right, up next, we will move into public comment. Chris, do we have anybody on the line for public comment?
Yes, sir, I believe we do. Commenter, could you please use *6 to unmute? You'll have your 3 minutes. Please identify yourself and tell us where your address is.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Catherine Adelaide, one of 9 members of the Carroll County Republican Central Committee. Yeah, I live in Carroll County. I did want to first extend my deepest condolences to Commissioner Kyler's grandson at the loss of his friend. I lost a brother at age 20. I'm deeply sorry, and they're all in my prayers. Okay, so our Central Committee meeting, next meeting is this evening at 6:30 at the Senior Center. You're all welcome to attend. I know you're too busy to attend, but send others if you can. We'll be talking about carnivals, a mailer, an election mailer. We got the MDGOP convention coming up May 8th and 9th. And we also have subcommittee reports, which I will do the election integrity. I'm the chair of election integrity and pro-life. So I'm going to move into those. You get the report early. So I try to get people to really focus on the early voting and think that's when we're starting, because that is when we're starting, which is June 11th, Thursday, June 11th through Thursday, June 18th. And today, actually, they're printing the ballots. We still need poll watchers. You can go to ccgop.net and get information about that. Okay, on my pro-life report, I got a big pro-life report as always. Just to review, we're all glad the session is over, I'm sure. Did want to just really highlight Maryland Right to Life accomplishments on assisted suicide was defeated before it even got introduced, and 2 infanticide bills died. One died in the House, one died in the Senate. I did want to commend Commissioner Krebs, who really, when she was in the legislature, stood against that amendment because it was so hidden. And that's what these 2 infanticide bills were also. So great accomplishments. And the way you can show your appreciation for all the hard work that Maryland Right to Life does is by attending the Maryland Right to Life Convention, Saturday, May 16th in Gambrills, Maryland. The theme is A Rising Tide for Life. It's a special one-day educational event to energize and equip pro-life advocates in Maryland. Our own Senator Reedy will be a speaker, and you can go to Maryland MDRTLconvention.com to sign up. It's broken into 3 sections. There's a prayer breakfast at 8 o'clock. The convention runs from 9 to 5:30, and there's a closing cookout with live music from 6 to 8. This is a family event. It's supposed to be very upbeat. We're trying to get more young people into understanding Life 101. So we hope you'll buy a ticket, even if you can't make the event, or you can make part of the event. If you're able to purchase a ticket, I could give it to somebody who would also use it. But we do hope to see at least some of you out there. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you very much. Chris, do we have anybody else on the line?
That's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chris. Roberta, do we have anybody here for public comment?
Nope.
All right, thank you very much. We will now move into administrative session open. Does anybody have anything for admin open today?
I just have one brief thing I wanted to bring up. I guess it was the beginning or late March, early April, we had the gentleman come in, Mr. Renard, about the dog incident. I believe it was earlier this past fall, we had the Humane Society in front of us talking about stray cats and how they wanted us to take up this huge, very complex issue for property owners with stray cats on them, which I thought was a little bit out of bounds at the time, given that I don't think the property owners asked for the stray cats, so why should they have to license them? And at that time, I had mentioned that I think we need to take a little more of a deeper dive into dogs in county. Now, obviously, you have people that have significant property, be it 5 acres, 10 acres, 100 acres on their own property. But what I'd like to have, what I've asked county staff to do is to start looking into that, because I do think that showcased with him coming in that there is a serious issue there and a concern. One, the situation, but 2, also the process of how the neighbors are at least notified. And I'd like us to take a look at that in a future meeting.
And question, I still have my notes from Mr. Renard on my desk. I just noticed them this morning. Did anyone follow? It wasn't my constituent, but anybody follow up with him?
I did send him an email, and I'm actually going to send him another one mentioning that I'm asking that we take a look at
Okay,
this.
thank you. And let them know that we all care about that, because I don't want everybody having to get involved with it, but it is an issue, and I think there was a history on that particular one of the dog being reported. So sometimes it's a first-time thing, but once it's multiple times, there's a problem. And it is a serious problem. I know sometimes when I was walking, I'd be chased by dogs, and they shouldn't be able to do that. And if they're not restrained or something, if no one's with them, and no one's got them under control, especially if they have a history of that.
And he's a neighbor. I've texted him and talked to him, both. And I talked to the town. He sent something to the town of Manchester. He's not in the town.
Gotcha.
Okay, thanks for following up on that.
You're all in support of your efforts, Commissioner Gordon, so thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to discuss, and probably not make a decision here now, but that's up to you guys, on public comment. And no offense to Catherine who just spoke, but during the public hearing, we had a speaker who got political. She was 90% wrong on most of their zoning issues, but they're allowed to do that. They can come in here and be as incorrect as anybody, but they got political. And do we want to, and of course, there's court cases on signs, and some of the things we've said about public comment, we've been totally right about, and the law backs us. I don't know what we do moving forward. Commissioner Garen's talked a little bit about us better controlling it. Do we cut out the public comment at the end? Hopefully it won't get political again, or do we stop somebody, or do we correct somebody when they get political? I don't want to, in my priority carol or public comment or any time throughout the meeting, campaign. That's not appropriate. We shouldn't be doing that, but public commenters shouldn't either. So do we want to talk about cutting out the one at the end? We could cut out a lot of the agenda items and obviously a public hearing, we need to public comment, but I don't want to restrict the good people because of a couple bad. But I don't know what we ought to do, and I think we at least need to. We've been very loose about it here, and that's okay. Board of Ed, not so much. They control their speakers well. We've had some removed from the entire property, but I don't know that we want to get like that. But politics doesn't belong in public comment. I think everybody agrees with that, and obviously signs and some of the other stuff, and I mean, again, I was illegally taped out on the parking lot. I could have taken civil action, but I don't want to see us I don't want to see it get to the point where we need to take action against somebody. So I don't know what we do, and I like transparency. I want to hear from the public. I love the emails, the texts, the phone calls. Like I say, I've met 2 solar groups. I've met other property owners. I talked to the guy about the dog issue. I want to talk and engage the public, but I don't want them to abuse our meetings. So I don't know what everybody thinks of that. I wanted to mention it, and I just don't know, what we ought to do.
Well, I welcome public comment. I wish we had more of it. I think we don't have a convenient meeting time for people to have public comment. I don't think we make it easy. They have to sit here for 3 hours, wait to the end to bring up something. And I think, I don't call it abuse when someone brings something up. If we have something that it's to correct them if they are wrong, I try to do my homework and let them know that this is wrong, but I don't just say, oh, it's all wrong, because usually they have done some of their homework. I welcome challenges to me. I think that's good, explaining it. Last week, we had a guy that sat here for 3 hours, and he asked a question about solar. He asked us not to support some solar thing. And we weren't going to answer him, and I wanted to answer him. We said, that one person sat here for 3 hours, and I think straighten him out. He didn't know. We have no control of it, and explaining that, and now moving in a different direction. I think that is our duty, and we should be doing it. And I think we should do more of it. I am here to represent the people. I would like to have half our meeting have people here weighing in on things if there was an appropriate way to do it. I don't want to limit it. I think we limit it now just by doing it in the morning when people are working. And when I was the board president of the Board of Education, we moved our meetings to evening. We moved them immediately. We had way more people participate. I don't know if they would or not, but we changed it so it was convenient for the people, not convenient for us and our staff. So I always, and if they don't come, at least they know they can. So I'm sort of the opposite. I don't mind being challenged, and I don't mind getting back to them and telling them.
I don't
excuse
mind
me,
being
I am.
challenged.
Excuse me.
I don't mind being challenged, but when a political
I have the
candidate
floor,
comes
Mr.
here
President.
and does a
Please
political-
don't interrupt
that's
me.
wrong.
Okay.
I don't mind.
Commissioner
Don't misrepresent what I said.
Commissioner Collar, you had some uninterrupted time, and we want to make sure that Commissioner Krebs has the uninterrupted time.
Okay,
so-
I appreciate it.
we-
And I will
we
stop.
have
I will stop.
something
And
at noon, so.
I know you're always in a hurry to get out, but we have an hour and 10 minutes. I'm not going to talk for that hour and 10 minutes. It's just a difference of perspective. I do like to hear from people, and I like if there is something that's out there in the community that's not right, I don't mind talking to them. I don't mind giving them to a staff member or taking those 3 minutes, and then the people maybe that might watch the meeting later can hear, instead of him leaving and thinking we're not doing anything, we just sit there. I'm sorry. I used to be those people. And no one would give you a comment. And you're like, okay, what do you think? Well, we're elected by those people. I wasn't elected by that gentleman, but I want that information to get out that he knows, hey, we agree with you. The state has tied our hands, and that's where your energies need to go. And I think, I'm not that sure if he's the same guy you're meeting with later this week or someone else, but I think it's our job to help our folks understand what's going on. And I want to thank staff. The notifications that are going out now about the ordinances and about what's going on are 1,000 times better, going on the press release, giving the information, writing it in layman's terms so they understand it. Hey, I'm sorry, Tim, but what you're required to do in the paper of putting something in 6 font that says changes to Chapter 155 for bulk requirements, no one knows what that means. And now we're putting it out, and that's what the state requires, and it's a minimum. And I mentioned this to our planning director the other day. That's what's required. I don't want the state telling us how we have to advertise stuff, but that doesn't mean that we can't have our own requirements of how we do it and to do it in a way that people understand it and have the documents there so they understand the context of it, because we really want to know, what do they think of this? And don't just say, nobody came to talk at the meeting. Well, they didn't even know what it was about because you couldn't tell that. We're doing a great job now. The last few things that have gone out have had information in it. So people, and we're getting a lot of feedback on billboards because we've given the information out to them that they can look at, they can read the plan, they can read the actual text. If they sign up for Carroll Connect, which we're trying to encourage people to do, I wish we'd done it to the kids and the parents this morning, but that way, if they want to be informed, they've got the information there. They shouldn't have to go digging for it, and then we get their opinion, and then we listen to it, and if there's something incorrect that they say, I am all about, I do never sit here and say, they're all wrong, they're all wrong. I say, here's what it says, and if you have something else, but I want to tell them what's wrong, because half the time I don't know what's really wrong, and I think we owe that to them. But it's just a difference of opinion, but I personally was those people years ago, and I resented it, and so when I became in charge of the Board of Education, when I was president, we changed our methods, and people were so happy. They didn't talk more. They just felt included, and that's what I would like to do.
So let's.
And I agree, and I think, and that's why I don't want to throw out the good with the bad. And I offered to correct zoning misrepresented. I offered that. Nobody's taking me up on it. That's fine. But we have some rules, and we need to make sure people follow the rules or change them. And it's not question and answer. What we did across the street is, if somebody would question stuff, somebody would say to them, and we have cards, staff will get with you and answer those questions. This isn't the forum to do that, but I just think you shouldn't be here political. You shouldn't have signs. You know, you need to follow our rules, and I just wanted to bring it up, and I wanted to bring it up in open so people heard it, because, when I was Board of Ed, some nights we had 30 and 40 public comments, and that was okay, and the meeting was long, but it was worth it. But if they did a personal attack on anybody, staff or otherwise, they were removed. They were told, you're done, you violated the rules, see you next month. And then some were told, you're done, period. And I just feel like, I love public comment. I love hearing from people. I meet people. You mentioned billboards. I've probably met 40, 50 people to talk about billboards face to face. And I love that input. And it's definitely affected how I feel about that ordinance. Now, I'm glad we brought it up. I'm glad we got the public comment. I'm glad we did it. But, and I just wanted to bring this up. I've heard from others, we should cut it out, we should, and I don't want to do that, but somehow we need to make them follow the rules.
So, first of all, let's avoid editorializing previous comments by commissioners while we're up here on issues we've already debated. I think we need to avoid doing that. The topic right now is this issue of public comment. I think it raises some interesting questions. We have public comment is allowed on every single agenda item. We have guidelines. They can be difficult to enforce. If we're not going to enforce those guidelines across the board, then we probably need to look at an alternative. So I think this is something we probably need to discuss. We all know it's an election year. That's not what we do in here. So, and I think a lot of the public will find that to be a naive comment, but I think the five of us take that very seriously. So I think it warrants some discussion, because you can't have guidelines for one person and not another. I think that's only fair, and you've got to think about the people that are listening, that aren't calling in, doing that level of comment, whether they're following the guidelines or not. I mean, do we want 50 callers every day now, so they can just discuss whatever they like? I don't think that's the purpose of why we're here, and I don't think that serves the people who are watching. I think we need to think about them as well. So I don't know if we're going to get to a resolution on this issue today, but I think it warrants some further discussion.
Well, I would agree with you that I think it warrants some further discussion. To me, public comment is just that, it's public comment. As various other entities, and I'm not going to name names because I'm not trying to go there today, but you have organizations in the past where public comment was at the end of the meeting. There was no public comment on a specific issue on their agenda. So to Commissioner Krebs's point, I might be there for 3 hours. That to me is very difficult as a member of a community because, and we don't do that, thank goodness, but it's passed or it's been decided before the citizen even gets the comment. So for those kind of examples, which we don't do, thankfully, those kind of things challenge me. Obviously, different organizations do it differently. Some people, the comment has to be pertaining to a topic or has to be submitted in advance or whatever. I do like the fact that we do give the opportunity for people to call in. I think we all know that there's no good time where everyone's going to be able to reach out to us, whether it be in the morning or the evening. I do agree that evenings in some cases are better. I think the challenge, though, with evenings in some cases are you got people, as we know, and so many people in this community commute, so they're coming home in the evening. Do they want to go to another meeting? Now, that's not saying they won't. I'm just saying I think the opportunity is there via technology to communicate. I think the Carroll Connect thing has been more utilized, which is good. And, obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Burke, we don't allow signs in here, do we?
No, we do
Okay.
not allow
I know,
signs.
okay. I didn't believe we did. I just want to make sure I was correct on that. But what I find concerning is I don't want to limit people's ability to comment. Now, granted, people could call in and comment on any topic they want. Yes, that's challenging, I guess, at times, but they do have that right. At least we've allowed them to have that. And, it could be a nonprofit organization. It could be a citizen calling in about a dog issue. It could be anything. To me, it doesn't have to be germane just to what's on the agenda. I do like the fact that, for the most part, we do allow comment during the agenda on most items. Obviously, we didn't on Tuesday with the budget release, but that's a different situation. But I agree. I think, if we want to have some additional comment, I'm open discussion on this comment issue. I'm open to it. I just have concerns. I do not want to see us get rid of this, ever. Because I think as representatives to the people that we were elected, and yes, I'm going to say elected for that purpose, we do owe them the ability to comment. Yes, they can send emails. Yes, they can call in or whatever. But I think, having either the ability to call in or be here to speak is important. Because without that, I think we are limiting, and I want to be able to hear from people. So, just my thoughts.
Any other thoughts or comments on the topic of public comment?
Well, it's a bigger topic than just public comment. I just wanted to mention, we have public comment here at this meeting. We have it on items on the agenda, and we have it at the end. And they're all sort of different. We also have comment on ordinances or public hearings, and they're different. And so one thing I do agree with, if there's an issue, like I know you guys had the board, there's 50 people on one issue. You need to be structured. Because a lot of them are saying the same thing, and they're making their point. But if there's, it's a one-off, it's a thing on an ordinance that we're trying to change, it's different. So, and we want accessibility. The question is how and when. And when I talk about evenings, I talk about late afternoons, evenings, whatever people, it's easier for them to get somewhere. I just noticed there's just very few people that participate or get lots of emails. But when people email, we see it, but they don't hear from each other. They don't hear what their other folks are saying. In a public hearing, you think, oh, I didn't think of that. So the public hearing is good because they get to hear what everyone else in the community is saying as well. So what I would suggest that we do, it's not one thing or the other, and I think some of these need to be fine-tuned. I also would like our message that we say to the public to be more welcoming, like instead of saying, this is not a question. I know we wrote it, and I would just like it to be encouraging, that we want to hear from you. We might not have the answer right now. We'll get back to you, or something that it feels like we want them to come and participate. But we do need guidelines. So I'm suggesting that there's a lot of different pieces to this. I'm suggesting that we agree that we need to put together and work together on a communication policy that is written down for all these different, whether it's what do we do for ordinances, how do we communicate the ordinances, what do we do at board meetings, how do we get people, more people to it's more nuanced than I just mentioned, of all these different issues, not just at this meeting. So I'm just going to ask that we, after we finish the budget, and I'll take a little break and have a little time to rest, that we sit down and talk about a communication policy for how do we notify people. Right now, it's only state law that says we have to put this little thing in the newspaper. We have the tools to do it in a different way, and we're doing it now, but it's just you guys are doing a good job right now.
No, it's a policy that we're implementing.
Okay,
yes.
but we have not seen the policy yet. The board has not seen the policy.
We're testing it before you send it.
That's fine. But I'm saying we could then brainstorm about, you know, how difficult it is. But I'm just going to make a motion that we ask staff to put together some work groups or some ideas, and we can talk about it later, how we want to put together a communication policy that would cover how we do public hearings, how we advertise public hearings, how do we do stuff at our board meetings, how do we do public comment, and then put it there so we would have a little more structure to understand how we're doing it. We need to get through our meetings, but that would just be that we would come back with something official and put it in writing that people can see, people can comment on, and it would be a little bit more transparent. And the more transparent you are, people have the information, and they sometimes don't care as much. But I made my motion.
Sure, I will second that motion. I think staff's already thinking in those terms, but we'll have to get something official done, and I'm glad you mentioned after budget, because between a lot of the other things we're working, so I would certainly support that and ask the staff to continue that effort.
So we have a motion, we have a second. May I humbly submit a couple of comments myself? So the policy that we would construct about communication with the public, I almost think maybe two of my fellow commissioners might work with staff together in a task force and bring something back to the rest of us, rather than just, you know, requiring staff in and of themselves to come up with something. Maybe two of us could sit down with them and craft something that the rest of us could look at. So I don't know whether you would be amenable to amending your motion to ensure that two commissioners are involved in the actual work, because we certainly can't expect staff to mind read. We certainly want to be clear about the sorts of things that we're looking for. Does that?
Yes, but I also would like to make sure that everybody gives us their comments that they'd like to see, so we could, you know, what we'd like to see, so we can make sure it's all included. You know, everybody's ideas are, but I'd be happy to, however we want to frame it is fine with me.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on the motion? All those in.
Thank you for bringing it up. I appreciate that.
Okay. And then just to, I guess because we're still kind of in that midst of the discussion, you know, as far as the topic of public comment in and of itself, you know, I think it's important to remember that what we are involved here in every Thursday during our open sessions, whenever we have the open sessions, these are effectively business meetings. You know, these aren't town halls, these aren't public hearings in and of themselves, but they really are business meetings. It's important to remember as well that there is no state law or federal law that requires any elected body to have public comment, but we do it out of respect for our citizens. You know, because I think we all believe that incorporating public comment matters for us in the decision-making process and ensuring that we are as effective as we can be in the roles that we've been entrusted with. And also ensuring that people have the ability to be able to speak to us in a public forum, whether it's here in person or whether it's by phone. And there certainly has to be an order to how we go about public comment, because at the very least, in addition to making sure that we're able to conduct business as an elected body, there's also something to be said as well, that you know, public comment has to have an order to it out of respect for other citizens who also want to make public comments. And so I think I certainly agree with everybody up here that this certainly deserves and warrants further conversation. But just my thoughts on that in general. So again, we have a motion, we have a second about requesting staff and two commissioners get together to come up with a policy for communication that will be presented to the rest of the Board of Commissioners for consideration. Is there any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries. Does anybody else have anything for admin open? All right, hearing none, we have to approve closed minutes for legal and potential litigation matter from April 16th, 2026. But I did not have a copy of those minutes in my binder.
I don't either. I do not either.
Okay.
don't think so.
It should have been, right? It should have been. That they're here. They're here.
Oh,
Look at them.
okay. All right, so what I'll,
Keep going to the next thing.
yeah, so what I'll,
And
yeah, without objection, I'll run through our agenda review and give everybody time to look through the minutes, and then we'll come back to those. Wanda, how are you? Good morning. All right, so without objection, our first week of the agenda for Monday, April 27th, on Monday, April 27th, Bridging Life's Taste of Carroll Stratosphere Social in Eldersburg with Commissioners Gordon and Kyler. Tuesday, April 28th, Veterans Appreciation Dinner at the Freedom District Lions Club in Sykesville with Commissioner Kyler. 7 o'clock p.m., the Budget Community Presentation, the Carroll County Public Library, the Tawnytown branch, again, that is Ted's Roadshow, giving community presentations on the FY27 proposed budget. Wednesday, April 29th, the Kiwanis Club of Mount Airy 77th Anniversary Celebration with Commissioner Guerin. 7 o'clock p.m. at the North Carroll branch, Hampstead, the Budget Community Presentation with Ted. Thursday, April 30th, 8 o'clock a.m., Commissioners' closed administrative session, followed at 9 o'clock a.m. With the open session. Item number 1, Priority Carroll. Item number 2, briefing and updates on the United States 250th celebrations and presentation of commemorative coins. Item number 3, grant approval to submit application and acceptance of awards for FY27 to 2030, area plan and individual grant for the Division of Aging and Disabilities. Item number 4, contract award for 2026 hot mix asphalt paving. Item number 5, contract award for replacement of water intake pump at the Freedom District Water Treatment Plant. Item number 6, contract approval for microsurfacing road treatment. Item number 7, approval to purchase shotcrete linings for Watersville Road. Item number 8, contract approval for chip seal surface treatment. Item number 9, contract approval for pipe and end wall replacement for Nicodemus Road. Followed by public comment, admin open, agenda review. That afternoon, Union Bridge Community Resource Fair at the Union Bridge Fire Department in Union Bridge. I will be attending that. Also, I think that is the last community budget presentation will be at Mount Airy Branch at 7 o'clock p.m. It is, okay. Again, Mount Airy Branch community budget presentation at Carroll County Public Library, Mount Airy Branch at 7 o'clock p.m. with Ted. Friday, the Union Mills Homestead 2026 Maryland Preservation Awards with Commissioner Kyler. Saturday, May 2nd, Christmas Tree Park ribbon cutting and dedication in Manchester with Commissioner Kyler. Sunday, May 3rd, Commissioner's Podcast. Commissioner Gordon has the podcast. And at 12 o'clock p.m., the 5th Annual Veteran Celebration at the Carroll County Farm Museum in Westminster. Commissioners Gordon, Kyler, and Vigliotti are scheduled to attend. Does anybody have any corrections or alterations for our first week?
I just want to ask a question, make a comment. I notice there's an item on here, I will not be here for this, item 5, and it's not that I don't want to remove it, but I'd ask, that this is about a water intake pump at the Freedom District. I'm becoming more aware of the fact that we have issues with our water rates, and I'd ask, a couple weeks, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's there. I'm just noticing it, and I mentioned a few weeks ago that we need to take a better look at why rates are going up different places, in different water sections. So I would like to get a report of just what all the water and sewer rates are in all the different catchment areas.
we sent that to you.
Okay, I didn't see it. I'm a little behind. The reason I'm asking, because a good thing happened. Manchester got $23 million for upgrading their wastewater treatment plant. We've gotten money for different towns, and we want to make sure that we're doing that, but we're doing it for all the places, because we don't want one area to have high rates, and I know everyone's got high rates, but we want to see that they're equitable, because we might need to be going after some of the funds, make sure that we're going after all the funds we can for all the towns and the Freedom area, and I've never seen us go after any funds for Freedom area, but on this particular thing, it's become a big deal because the water rate's going up, and we've been working to try to keep them down for Union Bridge and New Windsor and getting state money, which is a good thing. I will continue to do that, but I just want to see what the rates are for everybody, how in different areas, and then how do we make sure that we are upgrading appropriately to make sure that rates are not accelerated somewhere and not accelerated, and other places are not doing it the same. Just trying to figure it out. you know, what we're spending, and I'm going to meet with them when I have time. Sorry, I can't give up all my sleep to find this stuff out, but just, I want to put a little bit more attention on our water rates and how we can help out to keep them lower, but since it is an enterprise fund. And to just, if you send me that, I've missed some emails, there's lots of them. And
I'll
it's-
send it
Can
again.
you send it to everybody?
Yep.
Okay. And I'm not going to look at them for another week or so, sorry, but I will do that. But just wanted to bring it to your attention that I really would like to try to get our arms around it, because they're going to keep going up, and Manchester has the same issue. And I just saw in the email that Senator Reedy sent out that they were allocated $23 million, which is fantastic for a little town, but we've got to make sure we're all trying to do it for whoever's got the interest or has the problems.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Thank you, Roberta, for the forthcoming information. Anything else for our first week of agenda review? Hearing none, we'll move on to the second week, the week of Monday, May 4th. Monday, May 4th, Carroll County Farm Bureau meeting at the Carroll County Extension Office at the library with Commissioner Kyler. Yes.
I probably will not attend. Their purpose, they would like to meet with all of the commissioners and talk about their future and talk about ag and Carroll County. And so me going individually doesn't serve any purpose for them.
And Commissioner, that's a good point, because I know some of us were having difficulty trying to make that particular date and time work with our schedule. So maybe we can get back in touch with them to see if there's another day and another time that would.
Yeah, they're willing to schedule it around us.
Okay, so maybe.
Most definitely, and they're still do their board meeting, but they said, we don't need you at a board meeting. We want to invite you to come meet us.
Okay, so maybe once we get through the budget, maybe a little later in May, June, something like that. Okay.
The
All right.
timing was bad, and it was just, we're busy. I said the timing was bad, and we didn't have a lot of notice. And we've met with them a couple times. We've been to their functions, which we love to go to.
Yep.
But I would also suggest, if we do set something up with them, it might not be a bad idea if we could share, or somebody from the task force last summer, Roberta helped me, we had 3 task forces, and one was on ag.
Yeah.
And that, I think that information was good information. I'm not sure if they've seen it. What was it called? The work group on ag.
The Farm Bureau people?
Yeah,
This-
I mean,
this meeting people?
It might be helpful for all of us to hear that again, because we had 3 work groups. One was on affordable housing,
One was housing, one was ag, and one was
economic development. But the ag part of it had a lot of good information in it, so it might be helpful to either have that person, the work group chair, present it to them while we're there, and we could talk about it from a basis of what they came up with last summer. So we can do something with the work group, all that work that they did. We want to have a conversation, if
spread it
that's
around.
okay.
Spread it around.
But just, if they could do it after budget season, when we have a little more time and have a little more notice, I don't like to say no, but I won't be here. I'm not.
And I think we need to be concerned, if they're inviting us, all 5 can go, and we can do whatever agenda they want. If we start setting an agenda, I'm not sure all 5 of us can go.
Yeah,
So
don't wanna
we
turn it-
need to be
don't wanna turn it
cautious
into a
to
joint
make
meeting.
it a legal
Right,
meeting.
we can suggest that they.
You know, you just say
Yeah,
they might be
exactly.
interested in that from the work group, and it's a layperson that will be doing it, one of their lay people, not one of our staff, and they might be interested in hearing it, so you might offer it. That's
Yes,
Agreed.
yes.
a good idea.
Yep.
All right, thank you very much, both of you commissioners. All right, so Tuesday, May 5th, Commissioner Krebs will be having her chamber breakfast at the Eldersburg branch of the library, and
No, they canceled that.
that's canceled, okay?
I think they canceled it, because that's already, when is it?
Tuesday, May 5th?
No, they canceled it.
It's canceled, okay, so
Yes,
that's,
to take that off, because I called to find out what I had to talk about, since I will just be coming home, and they said they had never gotten back to me, and it's canceled.
okay. All right, so Commissioner Kyler and Commissioner Krebs will not be going to Commissioner Krebs' chamber breakfast.
Wait a minute, what was that for?
Well, they might be going to breakfast anyway.
Well, they put it on the calendar, and then no one ever got back, and so.
Oh, no, that's all right. We're
I
just-
want to make sure.
Double check that it's canceled.
Right.
Shelby called it, because I said, I wanted to talk to somebody, say what they wanted me to talk about, and she said it's canceled.
All right, so
We'll double check.
So
and
I'm
just
glad I
make sure.
called ahead of time.
Understood. Wednesday, May 6th, if needed, a rain date for the Union Bridge Community Resource Fair, and if needed, I'll be at that. And then, of course, at 7 o'clock p.m., the public hearing for the FY27 proposed budget at the Carroll Arts Center here in Westminster, and obviously, all 5 of us will be there. Thursday, May 7th, 7 o'clock a.m., Sheriff's Prayer Breakfast at Pleasant Valley Community Fire Company. All 5 of us are slated to be there. 9 o'clock a.m., Board of Commissioners open session. Item number 1, Priority Carol, including a month of May mental health proclamation. Item number 2, grant approval to submit the application and accept the award for the FY27 Maryland Criminal Intelligence Network. Item number 3, briefing discussion on introduction to data centers. Item number 4, briefing and discussion on proposed amendments to Chapter 154.
Sounds like a college course. I'm going to take Introduction to Data Centers. What do you take? I'm sorry, just caught me.
I appreciate the humor. We might as well add
100 level
101.
course.
Might as well add 101 to the end of it.
Sorry.
No worries, no worries. Item number 4, briefing discussion on proposed amendments to Chapter 150 Forest Conservation. Item number 5, briefing and discussion on retirement homes and retirement villages. Followed by public comment, admin open, agenda review, and then we will have a closed administrative session because we will be at the prayer breakfast first thing in the morning instead. And then at 11 o'clock a.m., the sheriff's office picnic. All 5 of us are slated to be there. Friday, May 8th, Helen A. Gorman Library of Carroll County History Grand Opening with Commissioner Kyler
I will be at that as well, Wanda, if you could add me.
and Commissioner Gordon. Saturday, May 9th, CCVISA's 22nd Annual Convention at the New Windsor Fire and Hose Company, number 1 in New Windsor. I may be able to attend that. I have to check my calendar. 5:30 p.m. that afternoon, Gerstel's 30th birthday gala in Finksburg at Gerstel Academy with Commissioner Gordon. Sunday, May 3rd, Commissioner's Podcast. Commissioner Guerin has the podcast. And
That's the previous week.
that's okay.
Yes.
Sunday, May
Yes,
3rd is
yeah,
the
that's-
previous week.
That would be
Okay.
That's just a typo.
That's May 10th is a
All right.
typo.
May 10th, it's May 10th.
Thank you, everybody, for catching me on that before I read it.
So is that you, or is it just the date?
Add me to Gerstel's event.
The annual celebration is the 3rd.
Commissioner Kyler will also
So
be
this
at
whole thing is
Gerstel.
not supposed to be here.
Correct.
All right, are there any other changes, amendments, or alterations to our second week?
So who does have the podcast? on
I
the
do,
10th?
I do. I was just mentioning the
Oh, the veteran, okay,
veteran
gotcha.
celebration is May 3rd.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
that's okay. No.
Yeah, that was not.
All right. Does anybody else have anything for the good of the order? Hearing nothing, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I apologize. We need an approve. Did everybody have a chance to read the closed session minutes?
I did not,
Closed
sorry.
minutes?
Oh, yeah.
No, we've
Yeah.
already.
Did they make it all the way across?
Okay, but so we don't have,
do.
we're still waiting on the minutes?
The minutes are in
They're
there.
there, they're in there.
Okay, everybody read them?
No,
Everybody
I didn't
chance?
read them, but you sent them out, and I still didn't read them, but that's okay. I know, they're-
No, I didn't send them out.
oh, okay.
They don't get sent.
They don't get
They're-
sent, okay.
Did you
They're
want minutes
usually
to-
in your book. They're usually in your book. Why they weren't there, I don't know. But
Want a
anyway,
brief minutes, or
they're
do you wanna look
they're
at
in
them
that
again?
folder.
remember
So
this
just
one.
take a
Okay.
minute.
There's
It's
some
okay, I don't
things
wanna
in
hold you
there
up.
that you both still need to sign.
I already did. Yeah.
Commissioner Kyler and I think you, Commissioner McVady, still need to sign something in there.
Yeah, that was the
I'll
resolution.
make sure everybody
for
had a chance
transferring.
to,
So you,
Yeah, I just
We-
wanted
Now I
the
remember.
the
Okay.
minutes to go around so we
Right.
could do those.
do we need,
so we need a motion to approve the
Closed minutes.
closed minutes for legal potential litigation matter from April 16th, 2026.
So moved as written.
Yep.
We have a motion, and we have a second. Do we have any, we have any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Minutes are approved. All right, now we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
second?
We have a motion, and we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.